There's a storm sweeping through Hollywood and it's coming from every direction. Blake Lively is making headlines again, but not for her acting red carpet appearances or fashion brand. Instead, she's under fire for what many are calling an intimidation tactic, as her legal team issues threats to YouTubers and commentators who've been covering her very public and ongoing feud with actor and director Justin Bieber. One subpoena has already gone viral, with small creators speaking out, and the backlash is only growing. Has Blake Lively just turned the internet against her? Meanwhile, in an entirely different shade of celebrity controversy, Gwyneth Paltrow is making subtle but unmistakable comments that fans are convinced are aimed at her ex Brad Pitt. The Goop founder has been on a press tour and gave an interview that left the internet buzzing. Her words were calm, cool, and classy, but the underlying message brutal. Is Gwyneth throwing elegant shade at Brad's past behavior, or is this a misunderstood moment? And then we shift to the world of Justin and Hailey Bieber, where insiders are whispering that Hailey may be the one preventing Justin from going back on tour. Whether it's about health, stress, or control, fans are divided and Justin's silence is deafening. So what's going on behind the scenes of these Hollywood headlines? Why are Blake's legal moves sparking outrage? Is Gwyneth's remark a message to Brad? And is Hailey really stopping Justin from doing what he loves? Let's break it all down piece by piece in this in-depth commentary you don't want to miss. Blake Lively has long curated a carefully polished public image, witty, poised, effortlessly stylish. But her recent legal maneuvers are raising serious questions about how far that image management might go behind the scenes. It all began with a single subpoena sent to a small YouTuber, a legal document that on the surface looked like a request for information. But the tone and timing of it sparked immediate backlash. The YouTuber, who had less than 2,000 subscribers at the time, was stunned. They had merely commented on the public defamation case between Blake Lively and Justin Bieber, offering analysis based on court documents already circulating online. But that commentary, opinion-based, protected, and clearly marked as such, was now under legal scrutiny. The document demanded private communications, IP addresses, and editing history. Many saw it not as a neutral request, but as an intimidation tactic. Soon other creators came forward, some with larger audiences, 100,000, 300K, and even a few with over 1 million said they too had been contacted, some with legal notices, others with vague but ominous DMs warning them to be careful what they say. This pattern triggered a wave of concern across the creator community. Blake's team, when asked for comment, stood firm. They claimed they were pursuing misinformation that could harm their client's legal standing, but the vague language of those claims raised eyebrows. What exactly was being deemed misinformation? Court opinions, legal documents, or simply commentary that cast Blake in a negative light? Critics argue that this move reeks of PR panic in the wake of the ongoing fallout from her lawsuit against Bieber, which has already included damaging text messages and awkward red carpet moments. Blake's image has taken a hit, and instead of addressing the public directly, her team appears to be trying to control the narrative through legal pressure. Media lawyers weighed in too. One First Amendment attorney commented that these types of subpoenas were deeply problematic and could have a chilling effect on free speech, especially among smaller creators who can't afford legal defense. The internet agreed. Hashtags like #creators not criminals and #Blake Backlash began trending. The narrative had shifted from Blake as a high-powered A-lister defending her name to Blake as a celebrity using her resources to silence dissent. While the Blake Lively situation boiled over online, another more subtle celebrity moment started gaining traction. Gwyneth Paltrow, the actress-turned lifestyle mogul, gave an interview that had fans and gossip blogs buzzing, not because of what she said directly, but what she didn't. Gwyneth was asked about the lessons she's learned from past relationships. She answered with grace and self-reflection, talking about how much she's grown, how therapy has helped, and how grateful she is for the clarity she now has. But then came the line that stopped everyone cold. I think it's really beautiful when people stop trying to perform who they are and start becoming who they really are. She didn't name names, but fans immediately pointed to Brad Pitt. The context: Brad and Gwyneth had a famously passionate relationship in the 90s, and he has in more recent years spoken publicly about shedding personas and working through addiction and emotional issues. But Gwyneth's comment, when paired with her expression and tone, was read by many as a classy yet cutting remark on Brad's past need for performance in relationships. This isn't the first time Gwyneth has spoken about Brad with layered nuance. In the past, she's praised him for his support during her Weinstein ordeal, but has also hinted that their breakup was necessary because she didn't yet know how to choose healthy relationships. In this latest moment, however, she seemed fully in control, a woman who has moved on, healed, and isn't afraid to speak her truth. in her signature calm, slightly ethereal style. Brad Pitt, for his part, hasn't responded publicly, but the internet has. TikTok and Instagram Reels exploded with edits juxtaposing Gwyneth's comment over old red carpet clips of Brad and her together. Users dubbed it iconic, calling Gwyneth the queen of soft-spoken shade. The takeaway: in a world where so many celebrity interviews are scripted and sanitized, Gwyneth's authenticity stood out. She didn't drag, insult, or rant, but her words landed with precision. Fans called it a masterclass in subtle confrontation and perhaps a message to more than just Brad. Justin Bieber's career has seen multiple highs and lows: global superstardom, health issues, sudden cancellations, and emotional revelations. But in 2025, fans are asking a difficult question. What's really keeping Justin from getting back on stage? And the name that keeps coming up, rightly or wrongly, is Hailey Bieber. It started as a whisper after Justin canceled the final leg of his Justice World Tour in 2023 due to health reasons. Fans were patient. He had been transparent about suffering from Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, which caused partial facial paralysis, and the industry widely respected his decision to prioritize his recovery. But 2 years later, whispers about a comeback tour began circulating, only to suddenly go silent again. Then the speculation exploded. Multiple industry insiders hinted that new tour plans had been drafted, venues were being scoped, choreographers had been contacted. A 2025 to 2026 tour was allegedly on the table. But according to those same sources, the talks fell apart. And in their words, it wasn't due to medical issues or label hesitancy, it was personal. All eyes turned to Hailey. Hailey has always been fiercely protective of her husband, especially following his mental health battles and breakdowns in the public eye. Her supporters argue she's just looking out for him, that after years of exploitation by the industry, she's prioritizing peace. But critics claim something else: control. The idea that Hailey might be blocking Justin from touring took on a life of its own. Some said she feared being left behind if he returned to the road. Others claimed she wanted him away from female dancers and late-night chaos. Tabloid headlines exaggerated the story, but even serious podcasts and YouTubers began dissecting their body language and interviews. A resurfaced clip from 2021 added fuel to the fire. In it, Hailey was asked about Justin's future tour schedule and visibly winced. She said she hoped he'd take it slow and not overcommit again. At the time, it sounded like genuine concern. Now viewed in a new light, it feels like something more calculated to some. Then came the silence from Justin himself. That's what fans say is most telling. No statement, no update, no studio hints, just Instagram posts about prayer, rest, and quiet. Meanwhile, Hailey continues to expand her skincare brand, appear at fashion events, and post curated lifestyle content. Critics argue she's become the face of the marriage while Justin fades from the spotlight. Of course, this narrative is complicated. The truth may lie somewhere in the middle. Maybe Justin truly doesn't want to tour. Maybe he's happy taking a step back. Maybe Hailey isn't controlling anything. But the way the situation has unfolded, the media silence, the mysterious cancellations, and the recurring rumors has left a vacuum, and in that vacuum, speculation thrives. When you put Blake Lively, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Hailey Bieber's headlines side by side, a surprising theme emerges: the tightrope of control that women in the spotlight are forced or choose to walk. Blake Lively's legal action against content creators has reignited an old Hollywood tactic: controlling the narrative at all costs. In decades past, that meant magazine exclusives and media off-the-record deals. Today, it's subpoenas and PR firms tracking YouTube commentary. But the goal remains the same: to maintain power over how you're perceived. It raises tough questions. Is it self-preservation, or is it silencing dissent in the age of decentralized media when any viral clip can reshape a reputation? Some argue that celebrities are simply adapting. Others see it as censorship disguised as legal process. And Blake, unfortunately, is now at the center of that debate. Gwyneth Paltrow, on the other hand, represents a more refined kind of control. She doesn't fight online, she doesn't clap back. Instead, she crafts her narrative through elegance and implication. Her remarks about Brad Pitt weren't lawsuits or statements, they were clues, and yet they traveled just as far online, perhaps even farther. What Gwyneth shows is that control doesn't always need to be loud or aggressive. It can be quiet and effective: a sentence in an interview, a moment of intentional ambiguity. And in doing so, she reminds the public that not all image management is forceful. Some of it is simply wisdom. And then there's Hailey. Unlike Blake and Gwyneth, Hailey is still trying to earn public trust. Her marriage to Justin Bieber came with an avalanche of fan backlash. And whether she wanted it or not, she's constantly measured against his past, his fame, and his fans. Now as rumors swirl that she's influencing or even blocking his career decisions, the scrutiny intensifies. Hailey's situation is a case study in modern celebrity relationship dynamics. Where does protection end and control begin? Can you support someone without managing them? Or does the line get blurred, especially when millions of people are watching, judging, and interpreting every move across all three women, Blake, Gwyneth, and Hailey? The theme is control. Who has it, who's losing it, and what the cost is of keeping it. The public reaction to all three stories has been intense and divided. Some fans are defending these women fiercely, arguing that they are victims of double standards. Others see this as a reckoning, a moment where celebrity power can't go unchecked. With Blake, many creators feel betrayed. The idea that commentary, especially grounded in public documents, could result in legal action sets a dangerous precedent. YouTubers are rallying behind each other, calling for transparency and legal support. Several have said publicly that they'll fight the subpoenas. Others are quietly scrubbing old videos. But some still defend Blake. They argue that the misinformation online has crossed a line, that speculation has replaced facts, and that anyone, even a public figure, has the right to protect their reputation in court. Gwyneth's comments have sparked a different kind of discourse. While some are praising her class, others wonder if these remarks subtle as they are open old wounds unfairly. Should exes be fair game, or is it time to let the past rest? Even among Brad Pitt fans, there's admiration for how Gwyneth handled the moment. Few have accused her of malice. Most simply note the brilliance of her delivery. Hailey's backlash, however, remains the most emotionally charged. The Justin Bieber fanbase, massive, passionate, and deeply invested, is still split. Some believe Hailey is doing what's best for Justin, others think she's hurting his career. The silence from both of them isn't helping, experts say. This is a new era of parasocial relationships. Fans aren't just watching celebrities, they're interpreting them in real time. Every post, every comment, every tour delay, nothing goes unnoticed. And as platforms like TikTok continue to dissect these stories with microscopic intensity, it's clear that image control in 2025 is no longer just about what a star says. It's about what they don't say and how long they can stay silent before the narrative spins without them. As the dust settles or continues to swirl around Blake Lively, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Hailey Bieber, what becomes clear is that this moment in pop culture isn't just about individual scandals or viral interviews. It's about a seismic shift in how power, influence, and privacy function in the digital age. We are watching the end of an old Hollywood guard and the emergence of a chaotic, decentralized media environment where narrative control is no longer guaranteed, even for the most powerful names in entertainment. Let's start with Blake Lively, again, because her case is emblematic of everything changing. A decade ago, a star like Blake could have silenced controversy with one exclusive cover story and a well-timed public appearance. But in 2025, it doesn't work like that. A creator with just a few thousand subscribers can move the needle, create the narrative, and trend on X, formerly Twitter, with one sharp, evidence-backed video. Blake's team didn't miscalculate in thinking public perception mattered. They miscalculated in thinking it could still be micromanaged through intimidation. Her threats against YouTubers didn't read as justice to the public, they read as control. Worse, they read as desperation, and in a media environment hypersensitive to overreach, especially from rich and famous individuals, the optics turned immediately. You can have millions of dollars, a team of lawyers, and legacy media on your side. But if creators band together, public sentiment becomes unpredictable. That's the real story here. The balance of power has shifted, and creators aren't just documenting culture anymore, they're influencing it. Then we have Gwyneth, a woman who, love her or not, understands the game. Unlike Blake, Gwyneth has embraced the chaos of modern media. She knows when to say a lot without saying much at all. She doesn't lash out, doesn't serve lawsuits, and doesn't panic when the headlines twist her quotes. She plays the long game. So when she shaded Brad Pitt with that soft-spoken elegance, it wasn't a mistake, it was a reminder. Not all control is legal or loud. Some of it is cultural, built over years, layered with nuance, and delivered with surgical precision. Gwyneth's rise as a post-celebrity icon is proof that authenticity, even when carefully curated, still resonates. She's not trying to silence her past or punish those who talk about it. She's simply reclaiming her own voice with subtle strength. In contrast to Blake's firestorm, Gwyneth's approach looks downright genius, and it teaches a crucial lesson to modern celebrities. Sometimes the most powerful message is the one you never directly deliver. Finally, Hailey Bieber. Her situation is unique and in many ways more emotionally complex than the others. She isn't caught in a legal war or delivering polished public shade. She's living in the in-between, that hazy tense zone where public perception is formed entirely through rumor, speculation, and body language. No official statement, no press tour. Just Instagram silence and whatever people want to project onto her. But here's the truth: Hailey is the ultimate test of how modern celebrity relationships function under pressure. The narrative that she's blocking Justin's return to touring isn't just about controlling a partner. It's about how the public interprets emotional caregiving in high-profile marriages. Is she the villain or is she the shield? That question says more about our own biases than it does about Hailey. And Justin's silence, it speaks volumes. In the absence of direct answers, fans are forced to look for clues. Who's posting what, who's not posting, why is Justin smiling in this one photo, but looking absent in the next? It's a dangerous game, one that has historically torn couples apart in the public eye, and yet they remain quiet, maybe for peace, maybe for control, maybe because they know that every answer leads to more speculation. When we zoom out, it becomes clear Blake, Gwyneth, and Hailey each represent a different response to the chaos of celebrity in the modern era. Blake represents the old-school PR machine clashing with the new age of creator-led narratives and losing. Gwyneth is the evolved celebrity fluent in soft power who's mastered how to deliver truth without provoking war. Hailey is the mirror reflecting back our own assumptions about fame, partnership, and what it means to be silent under pressure. They are not villains, they are not victims. They are case studies in the ever-evolving power dynamics of celebrity culture. And each of their stories, one legal, one emotional, one reputational, reveals how fragile, complicated, and deeply human the machinery behind fame has become. What connects all three is this: the power to be heard is no longer held solely by the people with the biggest platforms. It's held by those with the sharpest voices, the most engaged audiences, and the ability to hit record. This isn't just entertainment, this is a shift. A cultural reshuffling of who gets to speak, who gets believed, and who gets to tell the story. And in that shift, we're watching something incredible unfold: the transformation of celebrity itself. As the final chapter of this multi-layered Hollywood drama unfolds, one thing becomes painfully clear: the days of untouchable celebrity are over. Blake Lively, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Hailey Bieber may occupy entirely different corners of the entertainment world, but each of them has found themselves entangled in the same cultural moment. One where power, perception, and public opinion now move faster and hit harder than any publicist or legal team can control. Blake Lively's strategy, or perhaps her team's strategy, to subpoena YouTubers and content creators for speaking on a public case involving her has become a cautionary tale. The reaction was swift, unforgiving, and surprisingly unified. For all the supposed misinformation she sought to suppress, what erupted in its place was a narrative 10 times more damaging: the story of a Hollywood A-lister trying to silence the voices of everyday people using her wealth and status. Even those who once admired Blake's wit, fashion sense, and seemingly relatable persona are now reevaluating what lies beneath the surface. When legal pressure is applied not to media conglomerates but to creators with small audiences and independent platforms, it's no longer about reputation management. It becomes a question of power imbalance, a modern David versus Goliath. Blake might have intended to defend herself, but she inadvertently did something else. She exposed just how fragile the celebrity-fan relationship really is. Because in 2025, the public doesn't want to be dictated to. They don't want to be told what to think. And when someone tries to enforce silence, especially on independent creators who form the backbone of internet commentary, the backlash is almost inevitable. Compare that to Gwyneth Paltrow, whose subtle poetic shade directed at Brad Pitt was not only well received, it was celebrated. There were no lawsuits, no subpoenas, no takedowns. Just a single carefully chosen phrase dropped into an interview, like a slow-burning match. I think it's really beautiful when people stop trying to perform who they are and start becoming who they really are. It was a mic drop, elegant, understated, and deeply effective. Why did it work so well? Because it didn't try to force the narrative, it invited the audience to draw their own conclusions. And in doing so, Gwyneth gave people the one thing celebrities often struggle to offer: credit. She trusted the public to understand the subtext. She respected the intelligence of her audience. And because of that, the internet ran with it in a way that didn't spiral into chaos, it bloomed into admiration. Gwyneth's mastery of the new media landscape didn't happen overnight. She's been mocked, memed, and misunderstood over the years. But today she stands as a masterclass in soft power, someone who has found a way to maintain relevance not through scandal or spectacle, but through measured authenticity. That's a rare skill in today's clickbait-heavy world, and it's what sets her apart in this trio of stories. And then we come to Hailey Bieber, whose position is perhaps the most complex and emotionally loaded. Unlike Blake, she hasn't gone on the offensive. Unlike Gwyneth, she hasn't spoken in code. Instead, Hailey has remained mostly silent. And it's that silence that has become the subject of overwhelming speculation. Is she truly preventing Justin from touring, or is she being unfairly scapegoated by a fandom that has never fully accepted her? Those questions echo louder with every day that passes without a public statement from the couple. Justin's absence from the stage, his occasional cryptic posts, and Hailey's continued presence in the spotlight all feed into the vacuum of information. And in that vacuum, narratives multiply. What's important to remember here is that Hailey, like so many women in the public eye, is being judged not just for what she does, but for what people believe she might be doing. Whether she's offering support or applying control, the truth has almost become irrelevant. The public has made up its mind, split into warring camps that either defend her as a devoted wife or paint her as a puppeteer pulling the strings. This dynamic reveals an uncomfortable truth. Even in 2025, women in the spotlight are held to a standard that often punishes them for agency. When Blake defends herself in court, she's abusing her power. When Gwyneth makes a carefully worded comment, she's manipulative. When Hailey is quiet, she's controlling. The reactions may differ, but the pattern is the same: a discomfort with women who dare to own their narratives or who choose silence when others demand sound bites. And yet the criticism isn't always undeserved. Blake's decision to subpoena small creators was not just a legal misfire, it was a PR disaster that felt deeply disconnected from the public's growing support of independent commentary. And in Hailey's case, if she is in fact influencing Justin's career trajectory behind the scenes, the question becomes, is that truly support, or is it possessiveness masquerading as concern? These are not easy questions, but they're the kinds of questions that today's audiences are increasingly willing and able to ask. Because this isn't just about celebrity anymore. This is about the collapse of the traditional gatekeeper system, the one that kept PR firms, studio reps, and elite media in control. Now fans, critics, and creators are the ones driving conversations. And when a celebrity steps out of line or fails to explain their actions, the court of public opinion reacts immediately, loudly, and globally. For Blake, this has resulted in perhaps the most significant brand backlash of her career. For Gwyneth, it's brought renewed respect. And for Hailey, it's brought a mountain of emotional speculation that threatens to drown the truth in noise. And here's the final irony: in trying to control the story, celebrities often lose control completely. The more they grip, the more the internet resists. The more they hide, the more audiences investigate. And the more they push back, the more empowered creators feel to dig deeper and call them out. In the end, we're left with a new rulebook, one still being written in real time across every social platform by thousands of voices. If Blake, Gwyneth, and Hailey are any indication, the age of image-first celebrity is giving way to something messier, more democratic, and undeniably more powerful, an era where the people, not the publicists, decide what the narrative really is. And whether you're a fan, a critic, or just a curious observer, one thing is certain: the story is no longer theirs alone to tell. It's ours to witness, to question, and to remember long after the headlines fade.